I'm an asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend for someone else. I knew my ex since we were very young, and we always have had feelings for each other, but he was always moving, so nothing ever really worked out. At the end of last year, we started talking, and we confessed to still having feelings. We started dating in January. The first month was amazing. Then he started to show a lot of red flags. I thought I was in love. That was until I realized he was only using me for my money, and texting his ex some questionable stuff, making my friends hate me more and more too. I started having feelings for someone else in May. In June, that guy confessed that he liked me, and my ex made me block him. Since this guy lives at my sister's, I saw him again in August. My sister's husband asked me to spend the night, and I said sure. I was really happy since I would finally be sleeping without my boyfriend arguing with me, and then leaving me to go see his ex. And that's when the other guy gave me a necklace. I've never been really spoiled before since my boyfriend didn't have a job, and it made me realize I still have feelings for the other guy. I slept in the same bed as him and we kissed, and I didn't break up with my boyfriend until 2 days later. After that, I started dating the new guy. My ex found out and came to my sister's house and broke the window.
Am I the asshole for hiring security for my wedding? I, 25 female, am getting married to my fiance, 26 male, next spring. My father's girlfriend and her 2 children, whom I've known since I was 9 years old, are not invited. My stepmother would steal my belongings, try to get me diagnosed with disorders I didn't have, and go into rages. When I was 16, I left my dad's house and cut off all contact with them for years. When my fiance proposed, it struck me that I'd have nobody to walk me down the aisle. I reconnected with my father and began repairing my relationship with him. His girlfriend and her kids were still in the picture, so I was polite to them but only tried to come when they weren't around. Well, my stepmother walked in on me and my father while we were going over wedding plans, and she mentioned that she hadn't got an invite yet. Am I the asshole for hiring security for my wedding? This made things awkward because I hadn't sent her an invitation because I didn't want her to come, nor her kids. None of them apologized or even acknowledged my childhood except my dad. I tried to give her the chance to, but she got very sulky with me and stormed off. I'm assuming so she could whine about me to her friends on Facebook like she would do when I was a kid. A couple weeks ago, she sent me a message that said, "Can't wait to see you on your big day." I called a friend from school who just started his own security company and offered him his first ever contract, my wedding. He thanked me for the contract on Facebook and tagged me. My family saw it and said security would bring down the mood. My dad's side thinks I'm psycho, paranoid, etc. because you don't need a whole security team to keep out one lady.
My fiance broke off our wedding because of his best friend. So I met this guy, let's call him Caleb. When I first laid eyes on him, he was instantly the love of my life. He was captain of the football team at our college, and I was the captain cheerleader. It was bound for us to date eventually. So he went up to me one day and asked me out, and his friends got hyped up. Surprisingly, we actually got along. He would take me out on dates twice a week, and we would text and communicate regularly. Rumors started flying around about him being gay at some point, but I quickly shut those down, as did he. We completely forgot it at some point. Then he got a best friend, let's call him Miles, and they were like 2 peas in a pod. They didn't act gay though, so I didn't suspect anything. We continued dating for 4 years. What happened in between this timeline was we actually got a pet dog together and we ended up living together. Eventually, he proposed. I could finally have my dream wedding. He was a famous football player and I was a stay-at-home wife, so he made bank. We planned our wedding, but as we kept planning our wedding, his best friend Miles kept coming around. One day, I wanted to have an intimate moment with him and he just declined. And he never does this, and I suspected something was up. So I checked his phone and I was reading a conversation about how Caleb was a little scared and nervous and was asking if he was making the right decision. Miles said that he was, but it looks like there was some deleted text in their conversation. I called Caleb in and asked him what this was about, and he said he was concerned of why I was snooping in his phone. I told him this was my only way of knowing what was wrong since I assumed that he couldn't tell me himself. Which I knew I was wrong for, but I would later on apologize. I just wanted to know what was wrong, and I definitely didn't want to waste any time. He claims that he just got the marriage jitters and thought my parents didn't like him and didn't want to put me through that, even though that made absolute 0 sense. I told him my parents loved him. They can be a bit harsh and a little bit overprotective at times, but they most definitely do, and he said that he was reassured. I apologized for looking through his phone and we continued to live life normally after that. 3 weeks later, we had the wedding. I was in the most beautiful dress and the wedding was near a literal waterfall. It was beautiful. I walked up the aisle, we said our vows, and we asked if anyone objected. Then, his best friend Miles stood up. He had confessed that he had been in love with me the entire time. I just stood there in shock and I was super confused. Because if anything, I thought that he was in love with the groom. And I barely know the guy, so how can you be in love with me? Then my fiance was upset and admitted that he was in love with him the entire time. So let me get this straight. His best friend was in love with me, and my fiance was in love with his best friend. Everyone just stood there and shocked. My fiance literally walked off the stage and shouted that the wedding is off. I was confused and shocked, but I didn't want the venue to go to waste. So I just decided to impulsively pretend to marry his best friend instead. So we ended up having a good time, and me and his best friend actually started dating. And now he's my fiance 3 years later. I checked his social medias to see how he's doing because I was curious, and it turns out he's now homeless. That's kind of sad. I guess karma is served to those who deserve it.
crazy story time about how my husband tried to unalive me and my lover when he caught us cheating. By the way, I'm at the airport again. I don't know how I always end up at the airport trying to do voiceovers, so sorry if it sounds weird. My husband and I have been together for 10 years, but we were best friends before we ever decided to get into a relationship. One thing about me is that I've never been able to stay loyal in a relationship. And because my husband was my friend before, he knew that. It was a running joke in our friend group that I was never going to be able to stay loyal to one man. Eventually, when my husband and I got married, he totally never thought that I would be able to do that to him. I mean, I never thought I was going to be able to cheat on him, but there I go. Fast forward to 4 months ago. I work in the fashion industry and I'm constantly in contact with lots of models and good-looking people. So this cute guy comes into my office and he's a model, and he started flirting with me right away. I mean, he was actually pretty much flirting with every woman in the office, but I was like, oh my god, he's so cute. I had 3 options. I could ignore the flirting, or I could flirt back, or I could flirt back and give him my number. I went with option C. I gave him my number and he texted me later that day asking if I wanted to go to dinner. I said yes. So I told my husband that I was going to be staying at the office late, which I did all the time anyway, and he trusted me. After that dinner, this guy and I were totally inseparable. We would meet up for lunch every single day and hang out for a few hours after I finished work, or sometimes I would get off work early to go hang out with him. I told this guy I was going through a separation and that's why I couldn't stay over at his place. And he believed me. By the way, I'm using the shade Verano for my Tanya collection with Aunat. If you guys want to shop it, it's the link in my bio. My husband travels for work a lot, and this was my saving grace. Whenever my husband would go out on trips, I'd invite my boyfriend to stay over at my house. While on one of those trips, my husband came home early and didn't bother to tell me. Apparently, he already had his suspicions and wanted to catch me in a lie. He catches me and my lover in the act. My husband went psycho, you guys. He grabbed his gun and held us at gunpoint for 4 hours. The entire time, he was trashing our bedroom. My boyfriend, aka the model I was cheating on him with, basically cried the entire time and didn't say a word. While me, on the other hand, was trying to explain to my husband that he knew that I was like this. Well, that just made him angrier. Eventually, I told him that I would give him a divorce if he wanted one. And that's when my husband told me that he was never going to divorce me and that I was going to stay loyal to him for the rest of my life. And I promised him that I would. Finally, after 4 hours, he made me promise never to see this guy again, which I agreed to. The guy told me that he would never want to see me again and that he didn't want any trouble. He also told my husband that he was a victim in this whole thing and that I lied to him about being in a relationship, which is kind of true. So then my husband got even angrier. My boyfriend ran out of the house and promised not to call the police. That's when my husband told me that he already knew about the relationship and that he had been spying on me with him this whole time. When I asked him how he'd been spying, he didn't want to tell me. This led me to believe that he probably has cameras around our house and that he probably put some spyware stuff in my phone so he knows exactly what I'm doing on it. Then he told me that from now on I was to never take the pill again and that he wanted me to get pregnant as soon as possible. My career is super important to me and he knows that I don't want to have kids just yet. But now he's basically forcing me into having children. Told him we should really consider getting a divorce or at least going to couples counseling, and he doesn't want to. I know I shouldn't have cheated on him, but at the same time, I'm being forced into staying in this relationship and I'm being forced into getting pregnant. He's even dropping me off at work and picking me up. I feel like he's always watching me and I don't know what to do. I also feel bad because I broke his heart and I know he's hurting, but he's totally going about this the wrong way. I know you guys are going to have some advice on what I should do, so please comment. My best friend thinks I should just go file for divorce during my lunch break, but I don't know. I feel like it's just going to make him kill me. What should I do?
My husband has been pooping in the bathtub.
Intentionally?
Like waffle stomping it?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm writing this. For a while, there's been a faint smell of poop when I go to the shower, yet no poop in the toilet. I always figured it must just be someone pooped earlier that day. It is us and 2 kids in this house, so... Well, yesterday, rushing to get ready for work, I opened the bathroom to see an actual turd sitting there on the edge of the tub. And him with his phone, taking pictures.
Caught brown-handed.
Ew, I don't like that.
So how else did he get it out of the toilet?
He exploded at me to get the fuck out when we finally had a talk where he explained he just likes to look at them and will poop sometimes outside the toilet to see them better. He also posted the picture he took here on Reddit for people to rate. I looked at his account and was horrified. Not only does he do this here, he's done it at his sister's house, at work, and in public bathrooms. He will post these locations like he is proud of it.
Like geotag?
Yeah.
Like at McDonald's, at Susie's place.
Bro, I'm upset.
He's apparently been doing this for over a year, probably longer. We have 2 kids. How can he knowingly take a shit on a place that they touch? He kept saying he's always cleaned it up, but obviously not enough if I was smelling it the whole time.
Correct.
Does he just not care? He cares a lot about his shit. That's the whole thing.
That's the thing, is he cares too much about it.
He told me he will do whatever the fuck he wants with his body and his private time, which I cannot accept.
You cannot my body, my choice shitting on a bathtub.
If he was the only one doing this in the toilet, weird, but whatever. The tub, public bathrooms, absolutely fucking not.
Mm-mm.
Now I am being accused of being controlling and a bitch. He is still giving me the silent treatment, except to criticize me. He left to sleep at a motel last night, checked his account with a bad feeling. Guess what? This very morning he was posting from the motel. He says this is completely normal. That's just a guy thing, and lots of guys have a dumb appreciation for their poops.
I mean, clearly, because there's a subreddit for it. But also, like, this is the one instance where I will say not all men.
Okay, do they all also extensively document on the internet, detailing when and where they took a shit? What his BM felt like? Going to really gross details describing the poop? I've never heard of this, so I don't buy it. I'm just at a loss to how to get through to him how incredibly disgusting this is. I don't even want to touch him now. We have had sex when he was basically playing with his shit earlier the same day. Please don't just tell me to divorce him over one thing, because our relationship is usually really good. He's a great father, and I know he loves our family. He's a very hard worker. I wasn't ever supposed to know about this. Now I can't unsee it. So that's just my problem to get over somehow.
I adopted my dog Tank when I was 20. He had minor issues like leash walking and prey drive, issues that I fixed. This dog is a saint, never bit anyone or shown any aggression. He's very well trained and now he's 5 years old and 60 pounds. My boyfriend and I live in an apartment with my dog. We moved in together last year, but we've been dating for 4 years. In December, my boyfriend's mom invited herself to come visit us in the summer. Now when she decided this, we were under the impression that she would stay at a hotel or something. We live in a small, really small 2-bedroom apartment, but we use the second room as a shared office space. But whatever, we'll deal. We can throw in a bed and move the room around. However, 3 weeks ago, she was talking to my boyfriend saying she would be staying for 2 weeks because she wanted to sightsee and because she really wanted to be with us. I could tell he was happy about this because he misses her and doesn't get to see her a lot because we live so far away from her. I wasn't going to argue with it because I know it makes him happy. However, then she called again last week. She told my boyfriend that she wouldn't feel comfortable if Tank was in the apartment with her because he's big and you can't trust dogs like that. She said she didn't feel comfortable with his size or breed. Also that he could be unpredictable because I got him a yearish old and don't know about his past. She asked my boyfriend if he would have my dog boarded the whole time while she was there. He brought it up 3 days ago and I immediately said no. He asked me if I would think about it and I said no again. Now he's angry with me. I'm fine with everything else, but I draw the line at leaving Tank in a boarding facility for 2 weeks straight. I've never done something like that with him. I don't want to risk anything. I even looked into it just at the pricing and it's too expensive. This is his home and he deserves to stay here. I've never had a problem with her before, but this is ridiculous. She's never met Tank in person before and she gets a lot of pictures and videos of him. When we video chat her, sometimes he joins in. She's never said anything about her concerns before. He isn't a bad dog, but she doesn't want him at the apartment at all while she's there. After about a week of silence, waiting for each other to bring this up, I bypassed my boyfriend and went to his mom. I reached out and talked about her feelings for Tank. It started out pleasant. Then I told her BF said that she wanted my dog boarded. I asked why she didn't feel comfortable with Tank. Her direct quote was, "You don't know what his past is. He's big and unpredictable and I don't want to be staying with that. It would be different if you knew, but you don't. I just don't feel comfortable sharing a space with a dog that may attack me for going to pee in the middle of the night or grabbing a cup of water." I was angry and didn't want to scream to make her upset, so I said very politely, "If you don't feel comfortable living with Tank for 2 weeks, even though your own son has been since August, you can stay in a hotel while you visit." And I hung up on her. My boyfriend got home a few hours later and was angry because I talked to her, made her upset, and then hung up on her. Now she thinks I hate her. He said I wasn't being fair to her. I asked why he wanted me to board Tank so badly. He knows he wouldn't attack her or do anything aggressive towards her. All he had to say was boiled down to, "Can't you just do it to make this whole thing easier? He's a dog." We argued at some point in circles. How Tank is a dog, he doesn't get rights in the apartment, and things got worse when I asked what would happen in the future if we were still together and she decided to visit when we were living in a house. He said that it would be different because we could put him in a room or something. So my dog has to be penalized for living in our home with us when your mom visits? When I adopted Tank, I took responsibility of taking care of him, making him my first priority, and treating him with respect as he is a living creature. I see him as I would a child. I do the same things for him as someone does for a child. He is family, 4 paws or not. I made a clear choice that night. While his mother may still be visiting whenever it is safe to do so, it won't be in this apartment. We came to a truth. This and other things we talked about are big and can't be ignored. We realized we don't want the same things, and it's not something you can compromise on. So, this all started with what I thought would eventually be my future mother-in-law wanting me to board my dog, and ended up with me and my boyfriend mutually breaking up after 4 years of dating.